Hello, everybody. Tried some new rock music for us today. How is everybody? Hope all is well. All is well. Glad that you guys are here. Please give us a thumbs up. Also, put in a comment. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, we invite you to go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to get up to 400 subscribers. So if you know your mom and them and all them who are not a part of this community, if you can encourage them to subscribe, that would be great. Excuse me, go ahead and subscribe. And I think that we are ready. Just want to run through a few things real quick, like we always do. But those of you who are meeting me for Ladies Night Out, we are excited. We are so excited. It is a sold out event. We are doing it on this Saturday, and we are going to have a great time. If you are on here and you are meeting me on Saturday and you've made your reservations and you haven't sent your picture to me, reply to go look at your email, because I sent you an email. Look at your email and send me a picture. It's a part of a gift that we want to give you. And if you don't send it, then your picture won't be on it and you'll still get the gift, but it'll just be blank, no picture, but everybody else's will be there. Hey, thanks for letting us rock out with you this evening. Yes, so glad that you are along for a rockin' good time. We want to thank you so much, Davis Consultants, for being such a fabulous supporter of what we are doing. I want to encourage you guys to go and get his book, Jonathan Davis' book. I am so grateful. It's a weekly time for gratitude. I have one, and it really makes you think. It makes you delve into kind of where you are mentally and emotionally, and it's really good. Really, it's laid out. It's very easy read. So I want to encourage you to do that. You can find it on Amazon. Also, want to thank Young People Nation, the podcast. They dropped a new podcast today, Thursday at 12 noon. They do it every Thursday at 12 noon, but they dropped a new one today. Go to their YouTube page, the Young People, but Young People Nation. And you can listen, hear, and see just really, really good conversations. Enjoy that. Back by popular demand, a word and a song. You can go and look for Montre's not email, her Facebook page. And you can see on there what she is doing. Montre Roberts, her Facebook page, she does a word in the song every third Sunday at 7 p.m. and that is live. And then the last thing that I'll give you is this, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Go ahead and get your Bibles or turn your iPads or phones, whatever you're using, if you're going to read along. We are going to Genesis, the 38th chapter. But I want to encourage you, if you want to stay connected with us, go ahead and text the word community with a K to the number right here you see on your screen where it says, see the text message, it says, join us. How can I stay in touch? Well, text the word community, KOMMUINTY, to the number 866-939-6096. That is how you can stay connected. And so the folks that we are hanging with here, they got a text message that said, hey, we're getting ready to go live. So if you want to be a part of that, go ahead and send that information. Text community to 866-939-6096, and you can stay connected in everything that we're doing in this community. Hello to you. Good evening to you. Thanks for being here with us. Glad to have you. Okay, guys, Genesis, the 38th chapter. We had a doozy that we left off with. We left off with a cliffhanger last week. All right, I'm gonna do kind of like they do on television, give you, on television shows, they kind of give you the previews from the last week, and then we're gonna move forward. We stopped at where did we stop at? I want to say we stopped at verse 14. Nope, we got further than that. I want to say we stopped at I'll say verse 18. That's where we'll pick it up at. What are you saying? We stopped, yeah, verse 18. That's where I'm going to pick it up at. But let me backtrack just a little bit. Now, we had talked about Joseph. He had gotten a coat and all that. That was in chapter 37. His brothers hated him, put him in a ditch, sold him off to people. So Joseph is gone. He's down the road. So now we're in another scene in this movie. I do feel like this is like a soap opera. Yes. Did we stop with it? Yes, we stopped at the daughter-in-law. Absolutely. But I was trying to remember exactly where we stopped with the daughter-in-law, but I'm going to stop. I mean, I'm going to continue at verse 19, but it's somewhere in there. And anyway, yeah, but you're right. Thank you for remembering and for being a part of this. Okay, in chapter 38 of Genesis, chapter 38, we are talking about Judah and Tamar. So Judah was a brother of Joseph, and he left the family, kind of went out, did his own. He married. He became a father. He had a son. Judah got a wife. I'm skimming through. Okay, Judah said to Onan, go and sleep with your brother's wife, because the brother had died, and fulfill your duty to her as a brother-in-law to raise an offspring for the brother. That was just kind of what they did during that time. They wanted to make sure the family name continued. And let's see. When Tamar was told, okay, verse 13 in chapter 38, when Tamar was told that her father-in-law was on his way, remember, she took off her clothes, her grieving clothes, her widow's clothes, as they call it. She took off her widow's clothes and she put on a veil and she covered herself up and she went and stood in the gates, like where the prostitutes stand. Everybody knows this is where the prostitutes are. So she went over there because she had heard that her father-in-law was coming into town. And then the father-in-law was like, hey, come and sleep with me. And she was like, so what you gonna give me for sleeping with you, Mr. Sir? And so then he said, I guess he was like, well, what do you want? And so then she said, he said, I'll send you a young goat from my flock. And then she said, well, will you give me something as a pledge until you send that young goat from your flock? Will you give me something just so I can know that you are actually going to send it? And so then he said, what pledge should I give you? So what do you want me to give you? Hello, Audrey. Thanks for joining us this evening. And she said, well, I want your seal, and I want the cord, and I want the staff that's in your hand. And so then he gave them to her. And he slept with her. She became pregnant. And so then after he left, she took off the veil and then she put her widow's clothes back on. Part of this, as I was reading back through this, now she was promised Judah's son. She was promised his son. They were like, okay, just go to your father's house and stay there until my son, it says, okay, back up, verse 11. Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, live as a widow in your father's household until my son Shelah grows up, for he thought that he may die too, just like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's household. So she went back to her father because her father-in-law said, go live with your father until my youngest son grows up, and then you two can be together. Well, she knew that the youngest son had grown up, but the father-in-law didn't fulfill his promise. So this is what she did. She took off her widow's garment, put on a veil, slept with the father-in-law, got pregnant, but she also got the tools that she wanted. She got the seal, she got the cord, and she got the staff in her hand. Okay, so I'm going to pick up at verse 19. So after she left, she took off her veil and put on her widow's clothes. Verse 20 says, meanwhile, Judah sent the young goat to his friend, the Adullamite, in order to get his pledge back from the woman, but he did not find her. So Judah was like, okay, here's the goat. Take it to this woman that's the prostitute. This is what she had on. You'll probably find her there. Go and take the goat to her so I can get back my seal. I can get back my cord, and I can get back my staff. So the friend went to go find this woman and he couldn't find her. Verse 21. And he asked the men who lived there, where is the shrine prostitute who was beside the road at Enam? There hasn't been any shrine prostitutes here, they said. Nobody, there haven't been any prostitutes here. The plot is thickening. And so, verse 23, then Judah said, let her keep what she has, or we will become a laughing stock. After all, I did send her the young goat, but didn't find her. So he's just saying, you know what? We can't find her. Let her just keep what she has. It doesn't matter. She can keep it. She can have it. And because we don't want to be embarrassed, and because who knows what this whole thing was, me meeting her next to the temple and all that. And he just didn't want to be embarrassed. So he was like, just let her keep what she has. I tried to send her the goat. I tried to make it good, but we're just going to go on with our lives. Okay, verse 24. After about 3 months, 3 months later, Judah was told, your daughter-in-law, Tamar, is guilty of prostitution. And as a result, she is now pregnant. Uh-oh, the plot thickens, y'all. So Judah said, bring her out and have her burned to death. Verse 25, as she was being brought out, she sent a message to her father-in-law. She said, I am pregnant by the man who owns these things. And she added, see if you recognize those. See if you recognize whose seal and cord and staff these are. Verse 26. Now, you know, Judah had egg on his face. Judah recognized them and said, she is more righteous than I am, since I wouldn't give her to my son Shelah, and he did not sleep with her again. So Judah is saying she's more righteous than I am. Since he said, since I would not give her Shelah, or Shola, Sheila, sounds like a woman, Shelah, or my son, Shelah, Shelah. So he's saying, she's more righteous than him since I wouldn't give her my son. So it's like he reneged on his promise, right? I know, Bobby. Yes. Like, boom. You said that. Mic drop. Boom. Boom. You wouldn't give me your son like you promised. You're the one that brought it up. I didn't ask you for him. You said it. You shouldn't have offered. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to get you. I am going to get you. Oh, my goodness. So, verse 25, and she brought out, let me see. I'll go back to verse 24. 3 months later, and the end of 24, Judah said, bring her out and have her burned to death. Okay, verse 25, and he recognized the stuff. And then verse 26, Judah recognized them and said that she's more righteous than I. Verse 27, when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in the womb. So not only was she pregnant by one person with her father-in-law, there were twin boys in the room. Verse 28, as she was giving birth, one of them put out his hand. He was like, I'm gonna grab as they getting out. He put out his hand so that the midwife took a scarlet thread and tied it around the wrist and said, this one came out first. That was the way for them to tell the birth order, which one was born first. But then verse 29, but when he drew his hand back, his other brother came out, or his brother came out. And she said, this is how you have broken out. And he was named Perez, Perez. Then in verse 30, then his brother who had a scarlet thread on his wrist, then he came out and his name was Zerah, Zerah. So Perez means breaking out because that is the first baby that was born. And she said, you broke out. You went past the one that put his hand out first. And then Zara, or did I say that right? Yeah. Okay. And then Zara can mean scarlet or brightness. So when when people named their children back in those days, their names had meaning. And so that's what that meant. All right, we are turning to verse 39. First of all, let me ask you this. We've already talked about chapter 37 and chapter 38. Chapter 37 was the whole dynamic with Joseph. We talked about Joseph's dad. We talked about Joseph's brothers, Joseph getting the coat of many colors, the brothers hating him again because they knew that the father loved him. So I want to ask you to put in the chat, what is something that stood out to you in the verse in chapter 37, we were talking about Joseph and his brothers, the coat of many colors, and just kind of that whole dynamic with that family. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna put what I think that, and you can go ahead, you can type it out while I'm typing mine out. Joseph wasn't as nice. What did you think about the first chapter that we studied? I keep saying verse, chapter 37. Chapter 37. This is what kind of one of the things that stood out to me. There were a couple of things, but in chapter 37, Joseph wasn't as nice as we think. I think Joseph was I'm going to rub your nose in what I have and what you don't. Why else would you wear your beautiful, expensive coat out to where the family is taking care of the sheep and in all the dust and all of, everybody's working, and then you're walking out because the dad told you to go and see what the boys were doing, what the other brothers were doing? I don't know, y'all. I think Joe, and then he was like, I had a dream and you're going to bow down to me. I saw my wheat was standing up, and you were about, 11 other wheat things were bundles of wheat. They bowed down to me. That's almost like saying, nah, 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 nah. I had a dream to back up what I feel. I am the greatest. I float like a butterfly. I sting like a bee. I'm the greatest. That's what I feel like Joseph was doing. Seriously. What stood out to you? Go ahead and put that in the chat. And then while you're doing that, also in chapter 38, this is where we were talking about Judah and Tamar. Okay, let's see what you got to say. I think he was just excited about what his dad gave him because he knew his brothers were haters. Okay, but still, like, think about all of the preaching, and I agree with you on that. I agree he was excited. Well, think about all the preaching that we've heard and that we have heard about this story with Joseph and the coat of many colors. And it's always like Joseph is like being trampled over, and his brothers are like beating him up and overpowering him and like pushing him down, basically emotionally and mentally, and like, we hate you and all that for no reason at all. Does hate come without a cause? Does hate come without a cause? I know it can, but I think in this situation, because we read what the scripture said, I think he was excited, and I don't think he used the best judgment, but I don't think that he was all 100% as innocent as I initially thought he was before we went through and read all of this. So in chapter 38, we were talking about Judah and Tamar, and this is Tamar, where she was promised to have a son of Judah, but Judah was like, I'm not giving her my son. And Tamar tricked the father-in-law and slept with the father-in-law and got pregnant by the father-in-law. And you are so silly. Hashtag I stand with Joseph. On behalf of all the people who were treated wrong in their families, we're going to start a march. I stand with Joseph. You are a mess. In this other story, though, all of this is connected. I mean, all of this is a part of Joseph's life, his heritage. So in chapter 38, where the daughter-in-law tricked the father-in-law, and she also got some assurance. She really basically, I want to say, blackmailed him a little bit. Like, okay, she knew what she was doing because she took off her widow's clothes. She put on the clothes that would disguise her as a prostitute and went to where the prostitutes hung out. And she knew who he was, because it says when she heard that he was coming, that's when she did all this quick, fast change. I'm telling you, if this is not a movie, I don't know what is. But okay, let me think, what stood out to me in this 38th chapter about the I want to say the cunningness of Tamar. So, or how Tamar was so cunning. And I know we look at the word cunning and it gets a bad or a negative rap, so to speak, but she was pretty skilled, how I'm going to say in chapter 38, in chapter 38. Okay, what you saying? Let me put what you put. Onan died because he intentionally emitted to the ground and not impregnated her. Absolutely, he did. He did. But she and I agree with you 1,000%. And she was promised another son, but from the father-in-law. But this is what I got from chapter 38. Tamar had game in chapter 38. She had game. So 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 I'm looking at this. I initially was looking at this from like a bad way. I'm trying to get this stupid piece of hair. Looking at this from like a negative way, but what could you have game in? Do you know what I'm saying? What could you have game in? What could you use your intellect, use your I don't know. What could you have game in? All I'm gonna say is Tamar had game in chapter 38. Not only did she sleep with the father-in-law, and I'm not saying that that's right, but she got an assurance. She got blackmail stuff. She got his cord, she got his seal, she got his staff. She was like on it. Do you know what I'm saying? She was skilled. She was a skilled lady of the night. Yes, she was skilled. Indeed. Let's see. I think Judah was very grieved and didn't recognize her. Yeah, he was grieved. He was there. Hello, Apostle. How are you? Good evening. Thank you for being here. We are talking about Joseph, and we're just highlighting chapters 37 and 38. Yeah, she had game. She was skilled. What else are y'all saying? Tamar knew the young son was an adult and plotted against Judah. Indeed, she did. And I'm telling you, not only did she plot to, it's one thing like if she had slept with the father-in-law and then it would have been her word against his, but she was like, look at his son, look at him. And that's when it went to commercial. Like, I'm telling y'all, this is like a soap opera. She was like, I got stuff to prove that you were with me. Oh, dirty old man. Tamar was passed around to the whole family. I didn't think about it like that, but you're right. She was. But she got what she wanted. Tamar was a smooth operator. Indeed. All right, that's chapter 38, Judah and Tamar. Let's see. She took the very things that showed the authority. Ooh, that's good, Bobby. Your tingle tangles, your, what is it called? Your not declaration. What is it called? Revelation. That's the word. Your revelation is like sparking. Yeah. She took the things that showed the authority of Judah. Absolutely. And that makes me think that those of you who are in authority, you have got to be careful about how you make yourself vulnerable to people who really don't have as much to lose as you do. Because people who don't have as much to lose, or people who don't have anything to lose, they will go toe to toe with you. They will take you to task. You have to guard yourself. You have to protect yourself. You've got to be mindful of, okay, what kind of game is this person playing? What do they want? Where are they coming from? Because everybody, the way that people come in isn't necessarily the intention that's in their heart. You've got to be really, really discerning when you are in leadership, or when you have power, or when you are able to be taken down. Seriously. Let me say, I had to go back and read after we got off the line last week. Oh, good. I'm glad you went back and read though. That's cool. Thank you. Because you are feeding it to us, girl. And even as you think about it, man, the girl had game, but you're right. I love what you said there. She took the very things that showed the authority of Judah. That's good. That'll preach there. That's good. All right. Let's go to chapter 39, everybody. Chapter 39. I can hear the pages of your Bible turning. I can hear you tapping in Genesis chapter 39 on your phone and on your iPad. And this is where we are talking about Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Let's see, Teresa. Tamar may have been from Lodabar. Is there anything good that can come out of Lodabar? I'm teasing. I don't know where Tamar was from. Somebody look that up. Where was Tamar from? I don't know. But yeah, she had skills. Definitely had skills. All right, chapter 39. We're talking about Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Now the scene changes and it goes from Judah and Tamar and it goes to back to Joseph. All right. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. So Potiphar was the captain of the guard, brought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him from there. Then the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of the household, and he entrusted to his care everything that he owned. From the time that he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. I'm going to read this last verse, verse 6. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food that he ate. All right, that was chapter 39, verses 1 through 6. It says the Lord was with Joseph. Now, Joseph had just gotten taken out of the pit, and he was sold as a slave, and then he was bought by the captain of the guard. But it says the Lord was with Joseph. Does that make sense in the way that we view Christendom? That all of this bad stuff would happen to Joseph. Oh, let me see what you found. Oh, Tamar was a Canaanite. Okay, Bible scholars, y'all teaching us. We are all learning together. Appreciate that. But does it make sense? I want you to think about when we are, well, I'll just say 2024 Christians. A lot of our thought process is, if God is with me, nothing bad is going to happen to me. If God is with me, everything that I do is going to flourish. Everything's going to turn to gold. I'm not going to have to go through any hard times. That's what a lot of us think. But it says here in the 39th chapter that the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered. But Joseph had been in the pit. Joseph was hated by his brothers. Joseph was sold to a caravan, but then he was also sold again to the captain of the guard. Does that sound like the lifestyle or the life that many of us view that Christians should have? Looking at the big picture, and of course, hindsight is 2020, but looking at the big picture, Joseph was going through those things so that God could get him to a certain place. So I want you to think about your life. What are some of the things that you've gone through, some of the things that you've encountered, some of the, people were hating on you for whatever reason. Some of you felt like you were in a pit, in a dark place, and couldn't get out because there was so much on your shoulders, so much you were dealing with. And then you felt like you were put in the enemy's hands, basically like you were sold, like Joseph was. You were put in the enemy's hands. You felt like everything that you touched, you felt like it fell apart. But what if God is trying to get you to a certain place so that you can, and a certain time, because famine was coming. Although Joseph didn't know this, but God needed to have him positioned in the right place at the right time, not necessarily before, but not way before the famine, not a century before the famine. I'm saying he was there before the famine started because he was in place. He helped them get ready. but not way after the famine started where he didn't have a chance to get things ready and for, to help them store up food and all of that. God has us scheduled to be in certain places at certain times. And sometimes we have to be put in a, I'm not going to say have to be. Sometimes circumstances happen where it seems like we're in a pit and we're sold, and then we're sold again, and then we're pushed, we're put in the enemy's camp, and we're separated from the people that we love. Sometimes life happens. That's how we describe it in 2024. Things happen, but it's all to position us for where God wants us. Can anybody see that? It says verse 2, so the Lord was with Joseph, so he prospered, and he lived in the house of the Egyptian master. Now Joseph got out of that pit and he was like, we're moving on up to the east side. Joseph was like, I was in the pit and I was sold, but I'm moving on up. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything that he did. Now that will speak, that will preach. The master saw that the Lord was with him. So what are people seeing when they look at you? And part of it is because Joseph did things in excellence, but it also says the master saw that the Lord gave him success in everything that he did. So whatever Joseph did, he always came out on top. And the master took note of that and said, probably like, I want to be a part of that. People who are high performers, and I'll say I'll put his master in that category, who are responsible for things, people who are influencers of the destiny of people. I would say the master was a part of that category, but I'm trying to use everyday language so you can get in your mind's eye what I'm talking about. There are people that are in your life, people that people that are in your orbit that they are change agents. That they are change makers, that they influence the community. They know that they not only influence the community, but they influence what happens in the community. People just like that. Verse 3 says, when his master saw that the Lord was with him. I want you guys to put in the chat, what could the master have seen? And I probably have said it, but I guess outside of what I've said, no, this is a better question. How can somebody tell that you are a Christian? Maybe that's the question. How can somebody tell that you are a Christian? How can somebody tell that you are a Christian? Put that in the chat. Answer that. How can somebody tell that you are a Christian? Let's break that down. What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, okay, let me answer. Yeah, your spirit. You're right. No need to break that down. You're right. Your spirit. Whether you are grumpy cat, whether you're angry cat, whether you're mean or nasty, but if you've got a good spirit, a pleasant spirit, sometimes, yeah, that helps people to know that you're a Christian. But how can somebody tell that you're, and I'm going to put down my answer. What are you saying? Not being the one that has to fit in. Oh, okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think your attitude, the way that you deal with stuff. Yep. Teresa and I are on the same page. Your temperament, basically kind of the same thing. Yep. Your attitude, that tells a lot. That tells a lot. So I wonder if that is what Joseph was sharing or showing when he was around his master. But he also says, not just because he saw that the Lord was with him, but that whatever he gave, whatever and that the Lord gave him success in everything that he did. Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Now, the favor, more, yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. The favor that Joseph got was because the Lord was with him and because of the success that he carried. There you go. This is what I'm talking about right here. You hit the nail on the head. His behavior. And so verse 4 says that Joseph found favor in his master's eyes and he became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household and entrusted everything that he owned in his care. So have you ever thought about that? That your behavior, let me see, all this stuff that we answered. We asked the question, how can somebody tell if you are a Christian? So I'm going to bring it home to 2024. You said your spirit. That's right. You said not being one that has to fit in. Okay. We said attitude. We said temperament. Another person said attitude, your morals and your values. And then another says the behavior. So going back to this, Joseph found favor in the eyes of his master and became his attendant. And then Potiphar put him in charge of his household and entrusted to his care everything that he owned. All of those adjectives that we described that you guys see in the chat, and then some, all of those things we believe that Joseph possessed, and that opened the door for promotion for him. I want you to think about that. Could it be, and I'm not saying that it is, but could it be that we haven't been promoted because we haven't been demonstrating the Spirit of God? We've got to be a part of everything. We got to fit in. We got to be a part of every conversation, good or bad. We walk around with bad attitudes, and that yields a different reputation. We have a bad temperament, and people don't want to even tell us anything because we'll blow up and be so explosive. The moral values that we display, that people see, they don't know if we have values or not. And our behavior, y'all, our behavior, could that be blocking us from promotion? And sometimes we may not even have quote unquote bad behavior, but what if we're late for everything? There's a whole different, what is the word? Not ambiance, but there's something that travels with you when you're late. Sometimes when I walk in, and I've gotten so much better, and this is why I'm talking about it. I'm talking to myself, but I've gotten so much better. If you're late for something, and I don't mean like every now and then, because stuff happens, traffic or whatever, but I mean, if you're habitually late, there's like something that you carry when you're late like that. And then you almost have a chip on your shoulder as well, because you don't want anybody to say anything to you, because it's like, yeah, I know I'm late. And so what? Why you gotta have attitude though? Why you gotta have attitude? I'm just saying, why you gotta have attitude? And you are the one that's late. Sometimes when you're late, you're thinking like, okay, let me see who's mad. Let me see if I can go and smooth this out because I'm late, That's behavior. And so when the boss is looking for someone that they want to promote, are they going to look to the person that's always late? That's behavior, y'all. I'm just saying. Let's think about our behavior, because Joseph's behavior got him promoted. Even after he had been in the pit, he had been sold a couple of times, and then he came in to be a worker in the palace. Have to be a people person. Oh yeah, you have to be a people person. Especially if you're going to be in charge of people, you got to be a people person. Yeah. Joseph's conduct, his behavior, his attitude, the fact that the Lord was with him, and the king, or not king, but the captain could see it on him, that opened the door for promotion for him. When the captain was thinking, I need somebody to be in charge of my men. All this is too much for me to handle. And I need to put my resources towards something else, but I need somebody that I can trust to handle what's going on here. And the first person he thought about was the person that had the Lord with him, the person that had the best attitude, the person that he didn't feel like he had to worry about. The person, as far as like doing their job, he did his job. And when he did his job, it prospered. Things prospered. That's who the boss was looking for. I wonder who your boss is looking to promote. And if you fit the bill, or are you with the gossip crew that doesn't like the company anyway? And you think that the company's going to fall apart because you don't work there anymore, or because you get fired because what you do is so significant. If you fell out dead, they would be sad that you died, but then the next day they would either hire somebody or post your position. So let's make an impact where we are, and let's have the right, not just attitude, not just the right attitude, but let's have the right behavior as well. Let's think about that. Everybody with us? Okay. So he left everything in Joseph's care. And this is interesting to me. I'm going to go back to verse 4 real quick. Joseph found favor in his eyes, in the captain's eyes, and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to him, to his care, everything that he owned. So wait a minute. I missed this until just now. So Joseph, oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So Joseph found favor, and Potiphar put him in charge of the household. He put him in charge. You manage the day-to-day stuff. But then it says, and he entrusted to his care everything that he owned. Not only is he managing the schedules, but he entrusted him, meaning that whatever needed to be done, Joseph was the man. It was like, don't even bother me. I'm not even going to do micromanaging. Go take it through Joseph. I trust that he is so level-headed that he will make decisions on my behalf that will serve my best interest. He entrusted everything that he owned. It was almost like Potiphar gave Joseph the power of attorney. Think about how powerful that is. And I want you to ask yourself, is there anybody in your life that you trust that much that you would give them basically the power of attorney? Meaning they can make every decision that needs to be made for you. Put in the chat, yes or no. Yes, I do have someone in my life, or no, I don't have somebody in my life that I would give power of attorney to. Because they can make the decisions, and you're able to do it. I'm just using it as an example. Is there anybody in your life that you would entrust, that you would trust so much that you would say, yeah, I trust you to make decisions for me and on my behalf. I trust you. Is there anybody? Hello, Pastor Wallace. Thank you so much for joining us. And I was just at Pastor Wallace's church on Sunday. I'm going to post that video soon. Had the privilege of being there with his congregation and just talking about transition. And I really thank you for the privilege of being there and able to speak with your people. It was a joy. Absolutely loved it. Yes, you do. Ooh, that's good. Y'all got some good people in y'all's lives. Good. You got people in your life that you trust, that you would entrust, even while you're alive and able-bodied, to make decisions for you that would be the best decision for you. Well, that's what happened with Joseph and Potiphar. And the thing is, they weren't even related. He just bought him and he watched him. Ooh, this is another thing. Who's watching you? Who's watching the way you handle situations? Who's watching the way you deal with sticky situations and tough situations? Who's watching you? You don't know. It's a lot of people watching you. One, because you profess that you're a Christian, so they're going to watch. People are watching. Let's see, left everything. Okay, continue verse 6. Now Joseph was well built and he was handsome. Verse 7. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." These people, a lot of people, these people jumping into bed a lot, a whole lot. We just saw the daughter-in-law seduce the father-in-law, and now the master's wife is trying to take the servant, the head honcho guy. The verse does say that Joseph was well built and that he was handsome. Verse 8 says, but he refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything that he owns, he has entrusted in my care." Means he trusts me. Verse 9, "No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then can I do such a wicked thing? And how can I sin against God?" Verse 10, and though she spoke to Joseph day after day, night after night, and she probably didn't just speak to him. She probably, let a little shoulder hang out, maybe put a little leg out, showed a little thigh, let you see my ankle, or you can see my décolleté or my neck, all that stuff. She was trying to get him interested in her. And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. Joseph had boundaries. Joseph had discipline. Joseph was like, how can I do this evil thing, or this wicked thing is what he called it, this twisted, wicked, like a wicker chair. He was like, I'm not doing that twisted thing to go behind my master's back. I'm not doing that. And in addition to that, he said, I'm not going to do the wicked thing, but I'm also not going to sin against God. I believe, well, both of them. I was going to say, I wonder if the God thing had carried more weight than him just not wanting to, do things unethically. But no, I think both of them. He didn't want to be unethical, but he also did not want to sin against God. So, okay, I got to ask you this, and maybe you can write the question down and think about it later. Is there anything that you wouldn't do because you don't want to sin against God? Are there things in your life that you're just like, you know what, that's off limits because I do not want to affect my relationship with God? Is there anything like that you can think of? You don't have to put it in the chat, but I want you to think about that. Is there anything that would make you draw a line in the sand? Because if you think about this, like Joseph could have been with Potiphar's wife, and then he could have used his relationship with the wife to continue to get favorable or to get favor from Potiphar, because he could have had the wife talking to Potiphar. But, let's think about this. This takes me even deeper. Because Joseph already had favor with Potiphar, and because God was with him, opening doors and causing him to prosper, he didn't have to have a wingman. He didn't have to do things. He didn't have to, what did I want to say? He didn't have to lay his integrity down in order to get what he wanted. So that leads me to this question. People who lay their integrity down in order to get ahead, people who step on people's heads in order to get ahead, people who do whatever they have to do in order to climb the ladder of quote unquote success. Does that mean that there is a deficiency in their relationship with God? Or are they just ambitious? And I'm talking about people who lay down their integrity. I'm talking about people, not talking about people who take advantage of opportunities, but I'm talking about people who they don't have any boundaries anymore. They just kind of do whatever they want to do. Just if it'll get me ahead, I'm going to do it. I'm talking about people like that. I hadn't thought about that, but that draws into question their relationship with God, or at least it should. Because Joseph even said, I'm not going to do this wicked thing, but I'm also not going to sin against God. And people climbing the corporate ladder. The good old boy network was not necessary. That's true. That is true. The old boys club. Yes. The good old boy network. It wasn't. Wouldn't you love to live your life like that, where you didn't feel like, and you should, I'm not saying that you don't, where you don't feel like you have to compromise anything in order to get ahead? There is so much freedom in that, when you don't have to look over your shoulder to see, you know, the person that helped you. You don't have to look back and say, oh, I got to repay them, or let me pay, let me watch what I'm saying because I don't want to upset them because they helped me get here. Those folks don't have morals, and that's not true success. Yeah. Many of them aren't happy, but they would never tell you that. But think about that. I love that Joseph didn't have to do that. I feel like that's a whole lesson within itself. That having not just boundaries, but having morals, having just, setting guidelines around, having discipline, all of that within itself can cause us to have success. And it makes me think about the scripture that tells us to meditate on the word day and night, and that it will bring us good success. Let me read it. I want to say, is somebody tell me where that is? I know where it is, but tell me where it is in the chat. Where you meditate on the word day and night. Meditate on the word, or meditate on the law day and night. I can't remember now. Somebody tell me where it is. Meditate. Nobody? This is an interactive. Okay, Joshua 1 and 8. Y'all must have a delay, because I know somebody on here knows where that verse is. I'm going to put it in here so y'all know. Joshua 1 and 8. I'm just going to chalk it up to delay. It's a delay. Y'all delayed. Okay, Joshua 1 and 8. Listen, the book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. I believe that's how Joseph lived his life. The book of the law shall not depart from your mouth. Won't go anywhere, but you shall meditate on it day and night. That's thinking about it. I'm thinking about it rather than worrying. I'm thinking about the book of the law. I'm thinking about the word. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. So that you may be careful to do according that is written to it. Basically, you line your life up with the word. You line your decisions up with the word. You line your actions up with the word. And all of those adjectives that we talked about, as far as like attitude and all that stuff, as far as Joseph was concerned, all of this is a part of the word, comes from the word. How your spirit, you not worrying about fitting in, all of that comes from the word. Your attitude, your temperament, we mentioned your attitude, your morals and your values, your behavior, all of that. The word talks about all of that. It talks about all of that. And so when we talk about Joshua 1 and 8, I believe that's exactly how Joseph lived his life. Because his master, his captain, could see that God was with him. Okay. So we are almost at 9 o'clock, and let me figure out where we can stop. So Potiphar left everything. He refused. He was saying, I'm not going to do this wicked thing against God. And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her, even and even be with her. Okay, I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna leave the cliffhanger. Uh-oh. Kicked myself out. Psalms 1 and 2. Oh, what does that say? Okay, now she done threw us off. I mean, not threw us off, taking us to a whole nother rabbit trail, but we're gonna find this. Psalms 1 and 2. I was saying Joshua 1 and 8, where the book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but we're gonna look at Psalms 1 and 2. Uh-oh. Okay. Psalms 1 and 2 says, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and he who meditates on his law day and night." But you're blessed. Blessed is the one who doesn't walk in step with the wicked ones, who doesn't stand and look from the position that sinners look. You don't sit in the company of mockers, but you delight yourself in the law of the Lord, and he who meditates day and night. I'm reading from the NIV version, but you're absolutely right. Thank you for that. That was a verse I hadn't even thought about. So y'all got two verses that y'all can look at. Write down Psalms 1 and 2. Pray that over yourself for the next week till we meet again. Psalms 1 and 2. Pray that over yourself. Say, I am blessed. I am the one who does not walk in step with the wicked ones, or walk in step with the sinners. You King James Version, however you want to read it. Pray that over you. That's a good one. Pray that over you. Psalms 1 and 2. Also, write this down. Write down Psalms 1 and 2 and write down Joshua 1 and 8. Pray that over yourself as well. Pray that over yourself. That this book of the law shall not depart out of my mouth, but I will meditate on it day and night, and be careful to do according to all that is written. And then I will make my way prosperous, and I will have good success. That's a good one. Is what came to me as well. Oh, that's good. Like minds. Yes, you are blessed. Okay, I'm gonna read these two verses, and then we're gonna go to not a commercial break, but we're gonna stop until next week. Okay, I'm gonna read these two verses. Verse 11. One day we're talking about Joseph. One day Joseph went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants were inside. Verse 12. This is the Potiphar's wife. She caught him by his cloak and said, come to bed with me. But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. Dun, dun, dun. That's all we have time for right now, everybody. We are stopping at verse 12 in chapter 39. Verse 12 is where we stopped, chapter 39. I'm gonna write that down. Dun, dun, dun. Hope you guys got something out of tonight. If there's anything that stood out to you tonight, please put it in the chat, because we would love to see it and hear it. For those who come back and look at the replay, they're also going to look at all that you put in the chat, and they're going to read off of that. It's 9:01. Now, you know, when it comes to television, they're like, this is a hard break at the top of the hour. So there's no extra time. This is not an extended version of the show tonight. Thank you guys so much for being on. We really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Bobby. And I'm so excited that you went back and read what we went over last week. And I hope that it gave you some better understanding and insight, because you sure helped teach tonight. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, you're in another time zone. Appreciate it. Let's see. Those of you who are joining me for Ladies Night Out, it's a sold out event. Yay! Send me your picture if you haven't sent it already, and I will see you this Saturday. Let's see. You got to go and get Jonathan's book. Go to Amazon. I Am So Grateful. It's weekly time for gratitude. Make sure you do that, and make sure you also support Young People Nation, the podcast. Every Thursday at noon, they drop a new one, and they've got a great one that they've just dropped. So make sure you do that. I think that is all that I have right now. So let me turn on I'm going to rock us out again the way that we rocked in. Looking forward to seeing you, Bobby. We're going to have a good time. We got some great stuff planned. We're going to have So much fun. All right. Good night to you. Good night, everybody. I don't know if I like that changing the music. That's a lot. This is kind of slow. I need something to pick y'all up when you leave. How about that? Everybody bob your head this way. Bob your head. I can see you doing it at the house, bobbing your head. Thanks, guys, for joining us. See you next time. Good night. Good night, Teresa. Good night, everybody. I can see you bobbing your head. Thanks. Bye.